Welcome back to the channel. The next thing we're going to make is the rocker arm, and it's a 1/4 inch wide by 219. So I've got a scrap piece of steel here. So we're going to get this set up in the mill, and then we'll drill and tap a hole here for the tappet, and then we'll drill and tap a hole here, or drill and ream a hole here, drill a hole here for the oil, and then we'll machine a section out here and machine a section out here, and then machine it to overall length. So we'll get this set up and start machining on it. So we got the rocker arm done. That turned out pretty good. And we got the tappet screw done. Started out with a piece of 3/16 hex. Turned that down and threaded it 440. So we'll get that adjusted once we get the valves and everything on there, get the exhaust valve on there. So I went ahead and made the screw that holds it on, and there are no dimensions that I could find anywhere in the plans for this, but I started out with a piece of 3/16 hex and then turned it down to 1/8 of an inch to go on the rocker arm, and then threaded it 440 to screw into our frame here. And then the distance here I could figure out from how wide the rocker arm is plus our washer. There's a 15 thousandths brass washer that goes on here. And then we have a spacer, which it says is 105 approximately. We can adjust that afterwards to get a good tight fit. So I made the spacer, and it calls to make it out of steel, but I had a piece of brass left over that I made it out of. So this will screw into here, and then we can adjust the width of the spacer here to get the spacing that we want to have a good tight fit. Then I also made the rocker arm spring, and I've got it bolted on there already. So I made this out of a piece of strapping that you would band, you would see on like a piece of material, something that you ship. So I just bent that up and then put the hole in it to bolt it on. So we'll bolt the rocker arm on here and see how everything fits. So just run the bolt in. We'll just snug it up by hand. Got to put the spacer on there. I forgot the spacer. Now we'll snug it up. And you can see how it works with the spring. And this end here will be pushing on the exhaust valve. So the next thing we need to do is make the cam lobe, and because I'm making the gears for this one, I'm going to make the cam lobe just a little bit different than what the plans call for. So this is a pretty simple cam. It has straight sections here on the side. There's no flank radius. So what we start out with is a 712 thousandths blank, and then the base circle is 562. So that's what we need to machine down to. And then we're going to set this up on an arbor, and then I'm going to have a 1/4 inch hole in the middle for the one that I'm making, because I'm making it a little bit different. It'll actually press into the cam gear. So we're going to set this up on the rotary table on the milling machine, and then our distance here between our 712 and our 562, we're going to touch the cutter off, and then we're going to machine a straight line off of that. So we'll machine this down a straight line, and we'll machine this off here with the end mill. Then what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it 5 degrees. and then we'll make another cut the same depth, and that will machine off this section here. Then we'll rotate it again, and we'll just keep working our way around, machining off a little section at a time until we rotate it all the way around. And then our last cut that we end up with here, these 2 points between here and here needs to be 254 thousandths. So all this will get machined off here. And then we'll be left with, there'll be a little small series of little flats all the way around this that we can smooth out with a needle file once we're done. So I've come up with 46 rotations at 5 degrees each will get us what we need. So we'll get this set up, machine it down, and then just keep rotating it around and taking off little bites until we get all this machined off here. And then all this will get machined off. And then what we'll be left with is a 562 circle on the bottom, 712 radius on the top, and these 2 points will be 254 thousandths apart, and then we'll have flat sections on the side. And that'll make our cam profile. So I've got a blank here that's pretty close to what I need to start with. It already had a 1/4 inch hole drilled and reamed in the middle. It's too long, so we'll get this cut down. It's a little bit too big on the OD, so we'll get this machined down to 712 and then get it set up in the rotary table on the milling machine, and then start making our cuts and rotating it around, and we'll be left with the exhaust cam. So it all went pretty good. Ended up being 48 cuts at 5 degrees each. And then made a pretty good looking camshaft lobe. So you can see, if you look real hard, you can see the flats on there, but you can sort of, I've smoothed it out a little bit with a file and a little bit of sandpaper. And then I went ahead and made the camshaft. That's just a 1/4 inch drill rod with a hole in it. So the lobe will go on there like that. And then this camshaft lobe will get Loctited and pressed into the frame up in here once we take it apart again. So that's going to do it for this episode. Come back next time and we're going to start cutting the cam and the crank gears Once we get that cut, then this will actually press into and get Loctited into the cam gear, and then we'll get this and the camshaft installed and the crank gear installed. Thanks for watching.